Hi there, everybody. Thank you so much for joining the first hybrid DevRel IL meetup in a very, very long time, more than a year. It is a hybrid event, so we are waiting for folks to join us in person. So the talks will not begin until 6:15, 6:20 Israel time. That's about 20 minutes out, maybe a little bit longer. So stay tuned, stay on the line, and we're looking forward to getting the talk started. Both Ophir and Oren are here, and they are two very, very good speakers. So you'll definitely want to stay tuned. So stick around, and we'll be back in about 15 to 20 minutes with the actual stream and the talks getting started. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll be back. Hey there, friends. Apologies for the delay in getting started, but we're having fun. We're meeting up after very, very long mingling and talking. So it'll take a tiny bit longer. Your patience is really appreciated. Around probably 6:30. We're going to get started, and we really so just a little bit more patience. Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks to the folks watching online. We're getting started in just a second. I'm just going to say a few words about our community. So in case you're not familiar with this community, this is the DevRel IL community, Developer Relations Israel. You can follow us on Twitter at DevRel_IL. We have lots of events for our community. It's also part of the TLV community Tel Aviv. So that you can also follow TLV community on Twitter as well, and you can learn about other events that we have in our entire community. We have DevOps events, we have cloud native events, open source events, lots of really cool stuff. And we many times do hybrid events, so if you are watching from around the globe, you're more than welcome to join us. This one is a really great event with Ophir Nachmani and Orna Cohen. We're going to be talking about building content machines, one of the biggest challenges in tech marketing. Two really great talks, one after the other, one kind of set the stage and one to take it a little into a deep dive. You're more than welcome to ask questions in the YouTube chat for our speakers, and we will be sure to ask them after the talks. Thank you so much for being here, and without further ado,
attended and came to the event. This is I think my first event for a long time because of Corona and because of other developments. So before I introduce myself, I became a blogger accidentally. There was a company acquired the company I built, and they asked me to share my knowledge with the employees in the company, and the SharePoint system sucked, so I opened Tumblr. And eventually I became a blogger because everybody went to Tumblr, it was public, and it was interesting to see how from just sharing small stuff I became an influencer. HP Discovery, HP ViewWorld, Viewer invited me to their events. Adrian Cockcroft, he was the chief architect of Netflix Cloud about 10 years ago. He had this small blog, which became eventually the tech blog of Netflix. So a bit about why we need blogs. Now, as soon as you are here, knows why we need content. But very important to understand about the investment in content. We are looking at content as a long-term investment for long run, and this is how organizations need to look at it when they're coming to think about content in the blog or whatever. So this is about that. Just in a brief, this is me. So I'm talking about cloud from 2008, specifically about Amazon Cloud. I've been marketing for the last 5, maybe a bit more, 6, 7 years. We will deal here with the challenge of creating tech content. We see it over and over again with our customers, and how you can, overcome the challenge of, taking some knowledge from someone and actually create from it something that will generate business for you. Besides that, I live in Tel Aviv. I have 2 kids. And that's it. Okay, so about the presentation. Content marketing, some will say divided into 2, 50% we create the content, 50% we distribute the content. I will debate and say that 70% of building a great content machine starts with the infrastructure, which is the content. Now, if we talk about developers, so developers are they develop an application. The infrastructure is the servers. Marketeers need to relate to the content as the infrastructure for their marketing. And if this is not good enough, then all the rest will not be good enough as well. This presentation will talk about specifically about creation of content, fundamentals of the machine, planning your content and production processes. Okay. So over the last, I will say 5 years maybe, there is a change in the industry of 7 years. There is a change in the industry. There is a trend around making sure that your content is coming from a real experience, authentic reviews. I can create an article about 5 restaurants in Mykonos while I'm researching the internet and just picking whatever I want, or I can do it because I were there just yesterday. This is very important point when it comes to generating content that is targeting experts. Tech experts, you cannot fool them. You need to come with a very genuine and authentic view, even if it's just in how to guide. Besides that, one of the things that are very interesting to understand is that when you talk with, when you want an expert or someone to come and help you with your content machine, you need to understand the target audience, of course, typical, and obvious when you talk about marketing. But the expert, if you bring the target audience to be involved in creating this machine, you will actually gain a lot. The best case is to come with a customer or do a case study and showcase your products. But if you take it as a rule, you will understand a lot of things about who needs to contribute to your channels, to your content channels. There are types of experts and types of content. We can talk about, the B2B and the B2 leaders, C-levels. What is your target audience? What is the mix between C-level and developers and all of that? But the focus is on expert content, what we call expert-based content. So think about planning that comes from that, so how you source their knowledge, and all the things. If you look at the machine from starting and planning all the way to executing and distributing, it needs to be based on the expertise and the knowledge. Now, there is this thing when I'm coming to a new customer calls me, and the typical pitch will be, so listen, the writer that you're using doesn't have the knowledge, right? Or the actual experience. And if you bring an expert, they don't know how to write. So you stand with 2 people or 2 resources that doesn't have the actual skill in order to create a single piece. So you need to understand these 2 personas. And basically, if you look at that, it's not a groundbreaking thing. It's kind of obvious. I have my CTO, I will come bring in a writer, and the writer will talk with the CTO and create an article. So eventually, if you think about that, to create a single piece, you need a team. That starts with expert and a writer. Now, each of them knows what they know. So the writer knows how to write, storytelling, repurposing of content, and the marketing message, and the expert really will spend an hour of research, while the writer will spend a day of research on the same topic, and eventually the research that the expert will do will be much better because they have the experience. Obvious, but when you package that as such, you are able to take the next step in building your machine. So think about the people that you need to be engaged with in order to do that. Now, this magic formula, expert plus writer, there is a team of 2, right? So what you're doing with them? There is this spontaneous feel where you come and you bring your CTO and they talk with the writer and you record a session and all of that. Great. This is just one option. There are a lot of options of working in this team of 2. For example, when it comes to a very heavy tech article, of course, the expert will need to do the research, will need to do the writing, and the writer will be just an editor. I have my own writer. Her name is Tina. I've worked with her for about 5 years. She's amazing. And it's like me and her together, we have all the skills to create what we need. Important to understand that the editor or the writer can come at any point. They can come by creating the draft, or at the end of the creation, just edit what the expert wrote. Let's talk about how you bring the experts. So today, IOD has around 300 freelancers that work with us. 80% of them are experts, and basically in order to bring them, we are doing lots of stuff in order to incentivize them to work with us. Now, if you're looking at your organization, when you you are trying to recruit the internal resources to help you, like experts within your organization, tech experts, and in order to bring them in and use them in order to create the content, you will find a lot of bottlenecks. They don't use the time, it's the list of the priorities, etc. So you need to find the points where you can incentivize them to come and join this effort. Of course, getting paid is one option, is one incentive, but eventually, if you're looking at what happened over the last 5 years, Medium is full with small bloggers who are doing that for their career. They are trying to understand how to write, they are trying to understand what to do and how to research and what their audience will want, and they are trying to be marketing, although they don't understand that. So you can help them. You can reach out to these people in Medium and tell them that you will be happy to help them write their next piece better than what they had before. We have lots of times where we are engaging with experts for a long time, and we help them and we give them a writer to work with them. For them, it's amazing. They are sitting on they are staying in their comfort zone. They are researching. They are doing what they love to do, and they are moving all this heavy lifting of the content to the writers. Eventually, they understand that they can do more content with this type of work. And once they're creating more and more content and they're publishing it also on their name, they become influencers. We have a lot of experts that eventually with us after 3-4 years became actually influencers. Because of that. Besides that, of course, everybody wants to be part of a community, and the small, guy in Medium who writes about DevOps once in 3 months, eventually if you will join a community of your experts, of your contributors to your channels, eventually you will learn more, you will be more engaging, and it will incentivize him, her to stay with you for a long run. These guys, the experts, and the ones that are really engaging with the world of technology, they will sit at their own spare time and they will learn new tools, they will check for new open source tools, whether it's Kubernetes or whatever, because they love it and because they need it for their career. They know that they need to be up to date with solutions, with the new open source packages that goes outside. With us or with you, they get paid for what they already do. So it's very interesting to understand that there is involvement of the simple developer, the one that sits 8 hours and develop and do the DevOps work, and eventually goes back home and trying to get out of this daily routine by just doing research and blogging. Find them. Find them in your organizations, find them in your customers, find them outside as freelancers. Now, how do you find them actually? You go to Reddit, you go to Stack Overflow, you go to LinkedIn. This is nice. You go to Medium, to Hacker News, and you try to bring them in. Today, I'll be straightforward. We are doing cold calling to them. We actually developed a system and message that bring them in very easily. They want to participate. At first, when we started to reach out, like about 3-4 years ago, I was skeptical about that because who will want to answer me about blogging? The guy is is VP R&D, the guy is director in DevOps, and they respond and they want to join this effort. One thing that is very important to highlight here is the marketplaces. We can be perceived as a very specific marketplace for the world of technology. And we are very successful, and we are welcome to use our services, whatever. But if you will go to Upwork, Contently, and Fiverr or whatever, be very, very careful. You will not find them there. Why? Because they are expensive. Not just that, my experience with working, and I worked multiple times in trying to bring these experts from Upwork and Fiverr and whatever not, and it's like cycles of trying, and it always fails. Why? It just failed. We're working a lot with LinkedIn for sure, with Twitter. We are targeting authors in D-Zone. We are looking at Reddit a lot. This is where we are bringing them. We're using tools that are looking for influencers in the world. For example, BuzzSumo. If you don't know, not yourself, to check it out. It finds good content, it finds good people, create good content, and it's helped to do. I will explain about it a little bit more further down the presentation. Planning. I love it when you come to someone and tell him, how many topics you have for the next whatever month or two. I have 2 topics. Excellent. And can you bring me more topics? Yes. 2 months pass. Do you have topics? Yes. I need to check it out. I will return to you. Another month passed. The case about that is because the single marketeer doesn't have the knowledge and the experience to come with a good topic. If you realize that, from here you only can find a great solution. And there is another aspect to that. I'm the marketeer. I will not waste my core tech team, the guys that knows the solution, they know the customer, they know the pain. I will bring them into a single room, 7 people, and we'll do a brainstorm session. Excellent. So you're spending basically 7 hours of your tech people, and you put them in the same room, and then only the CTO talk. And maybe another one talks. And there is a developer just on the corner of the room, and he thinks to himself, why I'm here? Why they called me? I don't know what to say. I don't have anything to contribute, and you wasted my time. The marketeer didn't only lose the time of the team; he also lost their trust. Now we are doing one-on-ones brainstorm sessions because of that. And we asked the contributor to be prepared. They are coming prepared because they know it's one-on-one. And you also find conflicts across the team. The CTO will say the target audience is DevOps. The CEO will say it's DevOps team leaders. It's not that they don't know who the target audience is. They just has their own views on things, and basically the marketeer spends 7 hours while each of the tech teams spend an hour and their perception, and eventually you get a bunch of knowledge and a bunch of things that you can learn from each one of them, and you also develop a trust and relationship with them. Besides that, you need to look at your product, what they are using more, what they are using less, and according to the usage, try to find also topics, track influencers, track discussions, analyze your site, and see what performed well 3 months ago, and do it again. It's a basic best practice, repurposing. And ask, of course, your customers and users what they are reading, what was the best article that they read in the last few weeks. Eventually, eventually what we are getting is both the internal creativity of the team and learning the external trend of what's going out there. Be careful if your CTO will say that he has a great idea that no one wants to read. Because the CTO is on your target audience, and the CTO is very, very advanced. I saw people that write articles and wasted time and resources on creating blog posts of 2,000 words with 0 ROI. So be strong. The CTO can make mistakes. BuzzSumo. You know BuzzSumo? You know BuzzSumo, great. So the world is cutting to half, the ones that knows BuzzSumo and the ones that don't know. BuzzSumo is a tracking tool on social. It's doing it by ranking content according to the social performance, including engagement on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Reddit. Important for us. It's supporting decision making when it comes to topic, I suggest the marketeers here to use it, but to have someone with them to check out the topics. Because again, TensorFlow 2.0, it's a machine learning tool that I'm not sure that you know. I know because someone told me about it. But if I need to bring topics around that, I need someone who knows and use TensorFlow 2.0 and work with me on Bass in order to bring some great ideas around that. So BuzzSumo, I don't have any stake in BuzzSumo, but it's great too. This is one of the most important slides, and it is there because when you think about it, you think about the number 3. 3 months of backlog, or 3 months of plan and a backlog. If I need to generate 2 articles per month as a startup, as a new startup, 4 articles per month as a growing startup, or every day as an enterprise vendor, I need to make sure that I have a plan and I have a backlog. Okay? Things that I'm creating today will not be published today, although everybody wants it to be published in a week. I'll create an article, in a week it's done. It's published. No, it's not. It won't. If it's expert-based and you have lots of stakeholders in the system, it will take time. And it's fine to take the time when it comes to really establishing a good content machine. A good content machine can also drop an article in 3 hours and release it and do a lot of buzz. But if you want to do an established cadence, you need to have a plan. Besides that, when I started to deal with this world, everybody told me 1 article per week. Why? Why 1 article? I'm a blogger. I wrote just spontaneously 3 articles per week and it got me a lot of presence. So why 1 article per week? Eventually, I worked with this company and we managed to do a system that generates 15 articles per week. We're talking about a startup that got funding of $4 million. That's it. 15 articles a week. We could have published, we didn't publish that, but we could have. Eventually, when we are looking at the cadence, if it's 1 per week, this is the best practice. 2 per week, it's double than everybody else. So you're getting more traffic than everybody else. Do 2 a week. Or do it every day. The constraint, it's not about everybody wants quantity, but the constraints keep us, in a very low-level mode, and we are trying to grab this 1 a week. Besides that, there is maturity levels. We are trying a topic. If it works for us, we repeat. And if it really works for us, and we got $30 million funding, we are scaling that. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the stages, which I will assume that you are. Important to understand content that deal with problems, with pain points, content that deals with what are the solutions outside, very hard to do because you need to compare between 2 or 3 or 4 products. And if you're looking at talking about how much it costs, the performance benchmarks, and the user experience, try to break the comparison into 2 parts. And of course, showcase what we call product-related articles. It means that I need an expert who knows my product, who deals with my product. Now, if I have an expert who already covered some pain points, let's try to help him and educate him to find and fix it with my product, and of course, cover that. There are cases where I'm getting into an article and like everybody here, we read the 2 first sentences and we close the tab because we know it's promotional. It's not that we are not looking at advertisements. It's not that we are not looking at the banners. We are on Instagram clicking and buying some clothes. But the fact that someone wanted to trick us, and we are closing the tab. So we need to understand that the audience is smart, and I love it when customers are, when companies are writing an article that starts with the pain point, and then there is a cut, and then this is our solution. It's great. I know where I'm stopping to read. I will not stop to read. I will continue on reading because they actually give me something at the first half of the article. Thought leadership means that it's not specifically on my product, on my solution. It's actually highlighting pain points or a trend or giving me some how-to guide around an open source. And it's great because tech people want their problem solved. This is what they are doing in Google. They will go and they will spend 7 minutes, an hour, or 3 hours on your site dealing with the how-to guide that you brought them. And they will share it with their audience. Besides that, if you will do promotional, you will go to Reddit and they will say, listen, this article sucks. So you didn't only do content that helped you, you do the content that actually harmed your brain. Type of content, I can tell you that, again, it's not based on numbers, but how-to guides works great, and list of tips works great, and listicles works great, although Ron will not take it. It all depends on what you have inside the article. If you have another article about Puppet Chef, the 5 DevOps tools, they will kill you. But if you have one tool there, it's in the 5 that no one knows, it might be better. Format, white paper, video, podcasts. Rich media is very hard to create today. In 3 years, it will be very easy to create video and podcast. If you're not there, talk with me. Content pillars. When you're dealing with topics, you want to say which format, who is the contributor, the potential contributor, blah, blah, blah. You want also the pillar of content. You want to package part of your content and make sure that you know that the NoSQL articles did that performance-wise. You want to tag them in WordPress or you want to put them in categories, but eventually you want to package them into pillars. And we are, for our customers, we are building a style guide. Style guide means that it's actually the guide for the writer, whether it's casual or serious, what not to use, what to use, which abbreviations to use, whatever. What is important to understand is that you need to have confidence, you need to be brave to stand on the stage. Even if you're not going to be on the stage, you just share an article. There are the CTO that will not click on the share. He will go back, he will review the article again, he will fix it again, he will go back, he will not click on the button, he will go back, he will review it again. Stop. Tell them to stop. When you click on the button, and if there are mistakes, it's better because someone will try to fix their mistakes. And they will tell them they have a mistake. And there will be discussion, and eventually there will be a customer. This is a great guy, kind of a friend. Randall Lang is the chief editor of Forbes, the worldwide Forbes. I sat with him for a drink, for a dinner here in Israel, and we talked about content. And he told me, so what is the very important ingredient of your delivery of your company? What is the best, in one word? I told him freelancers. And he laughed and we talked, but freelancers, even if it's internal contributors, we can call them freelancers. They do it on their free time. They don't wake up in the morning and think about creating a blog for you. So they are freelancers. Besides that, if we're looking at the stakeholders in the content machine, it starts with planning, content strategist that leads all the time the account, the blog. He knows what needs to come first, what needs to come later. He can highlight a specific event that needs to be covered. Managing editor, this is the guy managing everything. It's a managing editor because he's also doing edits. He's the final proof, he's the final stamp before it's released. Writers, we talked about them, and the experts. Questions? Great, so always well understood. Processes. This is a typical process of creating a single article. It's very simple to understand, it's very simple to digest, specifically for common people, okay? But I will come and say that still when I'm talking with people in the industry, content managers, technology, evangelists, whatever, I'm asking them to give me a topic so I can start and see if we can deliver. And I will take it to the extreme and I will say that the response will be, I have a great article I need from you. This is the title, 5 Cloud Security Challenges. Great. There are 5,000. So what is that you need from me? So, again, a typical thing will be fill a brief with all the information about the article. The most important thing here, of course, is the abstract or point to consider and the links, the resources and everything. I'm not sure it's a groundbreaking what I said right now, but believe me, it's still not obvious. Specifically when you're talking with tech people and they come to you and say, I have a great, amazing article, 5 security challenges. Now, this says 50% of the work. Outline, from my perspective, is 75% of the work. Because this is a spec, like every spec that we know, if it's detailed enough, if it has all the information, there will not be any surprises in the draft phase. When there are surprises in the draft phase, there is lack of trust, there is frustration, there is a lot of things happening because of one article, and you don't want to go there. You want everything to be in the outline and keep your hands and keep the time on the outline, and everybody will say, yeah, it's great. And then they will come back and the draft and will say, no, it's not good. So the outline is very important. And then comes the draft. Sometimes they will say, oh, no, let's create 2 drafts. The first draft wasn't good, let's create another draft. No, we're creating only 1 draft. Give me a feedback on the draft. No, but it's really not good. So let's go on a call. No, I'm going on a call. You give me feedback in comments in the Google Doc. Why? Because you want to see text, I want to see text, give me feedback. The first, when we are starting, a new article, for example, with someone that doesn't know the process or doesn't understand the process, they will always try to bring you on calls because they want to explain why the article is not so good. And eventually, when you go into details, you understand what is behind the scenes, specifically when an expert comes and is the contributor of the article, and the discussion can be between the CTO of the company or whoever from tech side who is reviewing the article and the one who was in charge in creating the article from the tech perspective. Now, the review process is like it should be fast, it should be small, it should be efficient. If it takes time, it means something doesn't work. On our side, the customer has 3 days to return an answer, and this is not because we cannot give them 5 days, but because we want the thing to be hot. We always, we are working and we need the thing to be in motion. If we are sitting with a draft that's 10 for more than 2 weeks, from my perspective, the article is done, the task need to go back and start from the beginning. And besides that, working with tools like, when we are working with large enterprises, and it always comes to the point where they send us this Word document. I love Word, I hate it. I really hate it. I don't understand why I need to have another 1.34 on the version of it. I know that there is some kind of an online version of it of Microsoft, I ignore that. And I'm going back to Google Docs. I'm working with Google Docs for 10 years. Thanks to God, Google, for bringing that in. Google and Asana or Trello or whatever, they are not just an editors or project management tools. They are communication tools. You can communicate, you can ask for someone to come in and check, you can assign a task for someone and they get a notification. There is a chat in Google Docs if you didn't know about that. And it's all around collaboration. We have articles that are just 1,500 words and we have 8 people reviewing and working with them and it just works. Okay? So if someone wants different option of word, tell them no. Limitations. Um, there is amount of reviews up to some reviews, okay? And still, we see customers who are saying, listen, we need to fix it again. We need to fix it again. We talked about that with the CTO because of their, problem with confidence and standing on stage. But it's not just that. We need to, I, I was involved in creating thousands of articles, content, whatever not, maybe even more than thousands, based on experts and technology and deep and whatever. And, Google is, there is a lot of things in Google that you can blame it for. And I know one thing, content is not perfection, content is completion. It needs to be done. I can update and revise any article I was involved in, but I will not do it. Eventually, when we have this article done and the core, the draft is done, we need to understand what will be the title. We need to bring at least 3 titles per piece. Now, be careful when you picture that, because this is analysis by Barcelona on 100 million articles. It includes fashion, food, and sex. So you need to understand what is better for you. But from my experience, and it's not an analysis like quantitative analysis, although again, later on will debate that, listicles with odd numbers, 7, 11, 13, works.
This is science.
Yeah. Eventually, when you read this article and you get to the end of it and it says summary or whatever, and it says, in this article, we learned that one, and we learned that two, and I know what we learned, I just read it. Let's summarize something else. 5 tips. Here is the 6th tip. It's a bonus. Great, excellent. I will read up until the end. The conclusion is not just a conclusion. It's something that needs to give value. And the first paragraph is very important, as much you know, it needs to drive the reader to continue on reading. SEO, this is the packaging of the article. I'm not doing that, but someone told me it's a great tip. Read it out loud. Every article is a new project. You need to plan it, you need to schedule it. The main project, it's around the weeks to months of work per piece. This is what everybody needs to know. Who is managing that? The separation of duties is very important. And one more thing, take your time, take 1 article or 3 articles, and measure the time you are spending on them. Not you only, but all the people that are involved. See how many hours you are spending on a single piece, and you will find that it's very costly. And specifically when it comes to tech, CTO time, if the CTO spends 4, 5 hours, 6 hours of an article, it will eventually come and say, I could have written it myself. And see how the trend goes down. So when we are starting with someone, a contributor, it will take more time and then it needs to go down. It doesn't go down, stop and see what you're doing wrong. Okay, so the writer will disappoint you. An expert will disappoint you, but both of them together, if they are mature enough, they will do a good job. Build a community and maintain it. Consistency. If you start with 4, stand with 4. You better start with 1 week. Track performance. ROI is very hard to measure. Up until today, I didn't see any of my customers that really knows to tell me that this article cost X and it brought me 2X. And I hope it will change. Maybe you have something that I don't know, but it's very hard to find. And sharing is caring. This is just things everybody is saying about distribution, which we're not doing here. Okay. So what you see here, it's actually sorry, it's old. I need to refresh this slide. But this is a real case for an enterprise customer, a big one, a big vendor, billions of dollars. They opened a new cloud DevOps channel. We started with them, and this is the growth. We do 2 articles per month, It's all organic traffic, and this is what they got. Of course, we are not the only one that are responsible for this metric, but we are not the only one, but we are part of the team who did it. I can tell that this case was with a very minimal SEO efforts, with very minimal social efforts. And this is not just the only case. I see it in every customer we are coming into. And when we're talking about two articles, we're talking about articles that are more than 1,500 words, 2,000 words, technical, very original. It's very hard to do, but the ROI is there. This is my promotion. We are working with a bunch of customers across the globe, in Israel, in Europe, in the US. From sole startup who wants to scale up to people that went to the point where they're getting the $100 million, all the way to the biggest companies in the world, in the world of technology. And we are here basically starting our own marketing efforts. I'm being transparent here because one of the aims of IOD is to form that into a marketplace. We have great supply, and we need to start taking it to the second phase of what the other marketplaces failed to do. Today, about 2 weeks ago, we released an option to buy or purchase content through our website. We just started, so you're welcome to try it out. And of course, be very disappointed and tell us about that. We will of course fix as we go. And that's it.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Yeah. How do you manage bottlenecks in the process? Like
We don't have buttons.
why?
Because we are a process.
Like
And we have an SLA.
what the writer is probably should be at least somewhat engaged, and the editor and the expert should be somewhat engaged, but the reviewers, they sound like very much not engaged in the process. And probably if the CTO has like 3 or 4 articles to review, this might be very much better.
So I agree with you. I didn't mention that in the presentation. The stakeholders need to be in the picture from the start, from the planning. The CTO needs to understand that a topic that he brought eventually become an article, and you cannot say what is this topic. Okay, so from the get-go, you need to have everybody involved.
So you try to gather engagement from the start.
Yeah, so they know that they will have a task for them to review. They started with the marketeers that we serve. They make sure that the reviewers, we have according to our rules, we have 2 reviewers. One from the customer side, one is tech and one is marketing. And the marketing, of course, knows about that, and they need to comply with that. They need to bring the tech guy, from the get-go. Yeah.
I think the idea of the marketplace sounds very interesting, and my question is, how do you price the content in the marketplace?
How we price? What is the prices?
No, I mean, like, do you just put content out there
Mhm.
that people can buy it, or do you need to like suggest a topic or purchase on demand?
So off the shelf or custom.
Exactly.
So the question about off the shelf or custom is back to what the customer wants to achieve. We have off the shelf. We can generate articles or have articles that we can, of course, prepare. We're not doing it today, but we are thinking about that. When you're talking about off the shelf, I'm thinking about something that is very minimal that can be afterwards custom for the customer. I want to take things out of the SEO world. The SEO is important, but the content and the quality of it is much more important. According to the search engines, if you look at what Google presented about a year ago, authenticity is one of the most important things, and they're doing a great job. I'm done in the field. So off the shelf, I can just tell you that you're bringing to me in mind. There is a customer that comes to us and say, there are a few actually customers that, listen, I have this writer that are creating fluff. Yeah, it's off the shelf. I have something that is very, very minimal. It's very cheap for me. But I cannot release it. Bring an expert in, custom it or enrich it, and then you have. So it's kind of in the middle. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Ophir. Do we need a break, or are we going to go straight through to the next one? We're good, great. So Owen is going to be up now talking about programmatic content, which is great. And I'm just reminding the folks that are watching online that you can drop your questions on YouTube. I am monitoring the YouTube chat. So if you have any questions for both of our speakers, if you missed the opportunity to ask Ophir and you still have something in mind, we'll be sure to ask them at the end. So definitely drop your questions on YouTube, and without further ado. Give me just 1 second to add.
You sure no one needs coffee? It's pretty late. No? Okay. So I'll try to be quick. I hope I will have a bit more time, but definitely want to get your questions. Like let's use the no COVID time that we have here together. It will be quite refreshing. So feel free to raise your hand, stop me, ask questions. This is going to be an interactive session rather than just me speaking. So let's get going. So a bit about myself.
True also for the folks on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Stop me, folks on YouTube. Raise your hand. And also stop me because I'm not used to a microphone, so there's a chance I'll do that. Thank you, guys. So this is about me. Oren, you can see a younger and definitely more well-dressed version of me here. I'm working for Sneak as a growth and marketing professional. I made the transition from web development to marketing about 6 years ago. Being the first person on the marketing team at Sneak, quite an experience, build a lot of things, definitely a lot of fun. And also, as you can see, this is my favorite video game. Let's go to the next one. So we're gonna click, that's it. No one back. Yeah. But I hope it will work. We'll get it. We'll get there. So, yeah. So what we're going to do today, basically we're going to touch on 3 things on programmatic content. What is it? Why is it even interesting to us? What are the benefits of taking that approach? And what should we do to set ourselves for success when we're taking such a product? So let's get to it. Okay, so as you've seen in Ophir's slides, when you go and you generate content today, you have these are the usual suspects, right? You go and I've seen in the web, this is called editorial content. I don't know if that's really the term to be used there. But there's another approach, and this is the approach I want to present to you today. So let's go to it. And that's a programmatic content. Now, before we get into the dictionary, the dictionary, what's the word I'm missing? Definition, thank you. Interactive session, there you go. So before we get into the dictionary definition of it, my purpose here is not for us to be able to recite what is programmatic content. I want us to be able to take it, understand the thinking process behind it, and then hopefully implement it in everybody's workplace. So it's not really that important what is the dictionary definition there, but I do want to put some order in place because there are lots of different terms that I've seen people use for the same thing. So basically, programmatic content, programmatic SEO for the purpose of this session, exactly the same thing. You can use the same word. And don't confuse it with programmatic marketing, completely different thing. Programmatic marketing, if you've heard it, is like buying advertising in a smart way. Okay, everybody, programmatic SEO, programmatic content, same thing. So go back 1 slide. What is programmatic SEO? So basically what we're building here is also a content machine, only one that is hopefully fully automated. Imagine you're getting the user input, the visitor input question, and you give them the answer that they ask for, and the answer is different each time. It's not the same answer. Usually you you build some code in order to power it, and usually you connect it to some data source, which is probably what your company is doing, and you're exposing it in a smart way. So I think it would be best, go next. So I want to show you a few examples for two approaches, sorry, interactive. So I want to show you two approaches for building a programmatic content or SEO machine. One is a long-tail strategy. This is usually the one you'll see people talking about, but there's another one which I've seen, which is rather popular and can be very successful as well, single page utility. So let's dive into these two. Click, okay, long-tail strategy. Basically what we're doing here is if we have identified a use case where there's tons, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, millions of variants to the answer that we want to provide, we can automatically build landing pages for each and every one of these options. Let's see a couple of companies that do it very successfully. First one, TripAdvisor. So TripAdvisor, sorry, I'm running very fast. I know it's late. Again, stop me. Because
Take your
I
time.
wanna-
I'm happy to be here.
we said until 7:30, so I hope I'll be on time. So probably it's not gonna happen. So TripAdvisor, you have there a page for every hotel. Obviously, people, as you know, us all, we seek for best hotels in a city. Now, you can do that stuff manually. I think this example is quite clear. They have a page for every pretty much place on earth. So you have Seychelles, you have Click Next, even some smaller places like Eilat. This alone is like 10,000 of landing pages, very popular topic. Imagine the amount of traffic they get to that. It's phenomenal. Another click, it's not just best hotels.
Another click.
I'll sleep. It's not just best hotel ads, also luxury hotel, top hotels. You get all the good stuff from all of those combinations. This sums up to a really a lot of volume, a lot of pages. Let's see another one quickly. Another example, Giphy. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the website and have used something like that to search a GIF for your slide. So obviously this is also what I've done. And let's see the result on the next slide. Quite some gems on that page, by the way. So
Worth it.
So two examples. I'm going to pause here for any questions. This is kind of a summary for like this long-tail approach. Lots of pages, lots of use cases. You build them automatically. Okay. Let's see another one. Let's see an example for the single page utility. So here the difference is that you build one landing page, and what you actually provide there is some kind of utility. Now you need to find, in order for this to work, that landing page needs to serve a really popular search term. So for example, for Taylor Brand, who here is familiar with Taylor Brand? It's an Israeli company, okay? Bunch of folks. So Taylor Brand, what they do is they help businesses get started. And how do businesses get started usually? They create a logo, right? That's how you start. So that's what they're doing. They sit on logo creation, do another click, and they created a great experience. This is their landing page. You go there, 5 steps, and you get a really nice looking logo going for you. Yeah, any questions about this approach? Also,
What is the browser extension that you're using there to show?
which browser?
You take one.
Okay, go back one. This one?
By Surfer?
Yeah, it's Surfer, that's the name. I think, I don't remember it now, a bunch of time ago, at some point it got locked on the Israeli search and it's not very useful since, but when it worked on the US one, it was actually super useful. It shows you how many people search for that keyword. Okay, let's go next. Okay, so these were the two approaches, yeah.
Just like a question, I didn't really understand what was automatic or programmatic about either of these approaches.
Got it. So
what was being automated here?
So we're comparing it to content, that editorial content which I spoke of. You have to manually create each piece. You have to actually sit down, write that piece or pay someone to write it. Here, you basically, to simplify it very much, you write some code that connects. Let's take an example of Giphy. They have enormous amount of GIFs. They flagged them with certain keywords, and they have code that if I search for GIFs for SEO, build that page automatically. No one sat down, handpicked those GIFs to be there. They are flagged in some ways. It's connected to the data stream, whatever database, and it automatically generates that page. Now, write a different word, you'll get that page.
Dynamically generated some kind of
Yeah.
code, like else if sort of thing.
Okay, we can talk to me after the session. More, I'd be glad to elaborate. Okay, so why should we do that? That's 3. So why should we develop this kind of content? So basically 3 main reasons. It's very, very scalable. This unlocks massive amounts of traffic that you can receive if it's being done correctly. Evergreen, once it's established, this is like a real machine that powers itself. If you connected your data sources correctly. Now imagine, for example, TripAdvisor, if they add a new hotel in Eilat, that would be automatically added to the top hotels we've seen there. So the content is constantly being updated. It's constantly stay fresh and continues to deliver, even if you're just sit back, relax. And the last thing, sometimes this is what Google also wants to see. Now let's take, for example, that logo creation question. You could write 12 best tips to create your first logo. Probably it will rank below the logo creation because this is what people actually want to do. They want to create. So if Google basically thinks this is the right answer for that question, if you want to create it, you want to be there, and it might be a critical search term for your business or a high potential one. I'm going to pause it here also. Home. Okay. Let's go to the next one. So, 4 clicks. Yes. So basically, these projects, they take a lot of investment. It's not easy to build this kind of machine. You have to put a lot of resources. It takes a lot of time. So it's really, really important in order to set yourself for success. This is kind of a checklist that I composed of the steps that you'd want to take in order to make sure you're setting yourself for success and not, hey, let's take the CTO, because apparently the CTOs are the bad guys here. So, hey, CTO, I have an idea that will generate us millions, and 5 months later, oops. So we want to avoid that. So these are the steps. We're going to go quickly one by one. Click. So first, we want to find a compelling programmatic use case. So I've shown you some examples. Is that something? Maybe you switch. So what I wanted to do, I showed you some examples which are more kind of B2C-ish, and I wanted to show you a few examples that maybe will help you think about it from the like developers related examples. So first of all, we have CodeData. Is anyone here familiar with CodeData? Okay, we have 3 people. So CodeData, what they do is they integrate into your IDE. IDE, if someone is not familiar, is where developers write code, and they use AI to autocomplete. So basically, you could write better code much faster. And what they did, their engine allows them to scan a lot of code repositories. So they index functions for each package. Basically, if you're a developer now and you're searching for example, this is a package and this is some functionality of it, because they index it, they show you how other projects are doing that. So you get examples, so you know how you should use it yourself. This has an insane amount of traffic. This is like millions of pages, millions of hits per month. So this is one example. Quickly, let's go to the next one. This is more of the single page utility example. Website scanner, this is like a pen test company. It's a bit more on the security, but also you could imagine being a web developer. Now your company asks you, hey, let's audit this website of us, if it has any vulnerabilities. If you're searching for a website scanner, you want functionality. You don't want any content. You really want something to work. And I'm also highlighting here, although it's a bit difficult to see, how to convert from these pages is critical. I'm gonna talk about it a bit more on the next step in our checklist. Okay, go to the next one. So this one is close to my heart. This is what I'm currently doing in Snyk. We build a product called Snyk Advisor, and basically what we're doing, we build a page for every open source package. Who here knows what open source is? Okay, not everybody.
AWS does, but
So open source, basically, these are packages that any developer in the world can use, and no software is built today without taking some of these packages into the project, because you don't build from scratch. And we know there are some, I'm not going to go too much into it, but when you're downloading this package, you don't have an easy way to estimate the health of the package. So that's what we're doing here. We're taking data from multiple sources. And the reason why this is such a good long tail strategy is that one of those ecosystems that we cover alone has more than 1 million of these packages. So obviously we have here really great potential. So I'm going to pause here for some questions about these ideas or something else. Yeah.
How did you optimize for SEO in this kind of strategy when usually it just takes time to see the changes?
That's a really good question. If I got it correctly, I hope I did. So Google have tremendously improved. Like they pick these things up really fast. I can give a few advices. You have to make sure you select, like you start with your best pages. So you need to make sure that Google sees them first. You can upload the sitemap or, for example, and you also need to put a lot of emphasis on the technical side of SEO. Make sure performance, you don't upload things with errors, you have internal linking. If you do those things correctly and your use case is good, Google will pick it up quite quickly, and you'll see a really nice trend.
And then like once you iterate, how long does it take till you see the improvement in the search console, for instance?
I don't have a scientific answer there, but it's a matter of few weeks, couple of weeks, not months or something like that.
And are you able like to connect the change that you did in the product to that growth, or it's just
That's more on you. Like that's how you. If you did a few changes, you won't be able to know. So it's on how you run it. If it's an important change that you want to see its impact, I suggest
just do that?
stop there and see how Google reacts. Or, by the way, you can also do split testing. Like you can do it in some of the pages. That works as well.
I have a question. Because I understood his first question a little bit differently. So I'm wondering, so the programmatic content, is that like dynamically generated ephemeral content, or is it perpetual? I mean, once this landing page is created, it exists, or it's just based on the search, it dynamically creates this page, and then that page no longer exists. And if that's the case, how does that rank SEO-wise?
Mm-hmm. So basically, it's pretty much up to implementation. Like you could implement static pages. It has its own benefits. They will perform better. The way we do it, and most of these websites are doing it, is some kind of a mix. Content is being dynamically generated, cached for some time, then after some time being generated again.
Okay.
In real time.
How does that work for SEO? Does that work? Does that?
Yeah, because Google, they constantly crawl your website. So sometimes it could take them, I have seen cases where it takes more than a month, but more often than not, like a couple of weeks, and they recognize the changes.
Interesting.
And as, like, if the search is popular, that would be much quicker. than
So it's a
that.
page that like almost does statically or perpetually exist because it's searched often and it's cached.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm. Cool. Okay. Let's continue to the next slide. So click two really important tips. Click again. First one, don't drift too far from your product. Like it's very tempting. You see a great idea, you want to do that, but if it's not tightly connected to your product, it won't benefit you much. Like it takes a lot of resources to build these kind of things. You want this to be closely related to the core of your product. Otherwise, you won't be able to have a decent continuation of the journey and conversion rates into actual usage of your product. And you want to be providing value. You want to find real use cases and answer them. Okay, so these are really important tips. So next one, bulletproof your project. So 4 clicks, I think. Okay, we got an idea that we like. We know it's going to be a huge investment. We have to make sure that we're doing the planning here correctly, especially if we are in a big company and there are lots of steps ahead of us in order to lock the resources and get executive buy-in. So I will talk about the team in the last stage, but in the last step. But I think bringing an SEO person at this stage is really highly recommended, because you really need here someone who would help you with the search volume to make sure that the potential is really there as you imagine it, and also to, if you find competitors, other companies doing similar things, you could validate according to their traffic. It really does work. A couple of tools that I like, both have a free version that's sufficient for this use case. If it's SimilarWeb is even too good, their free version. Never paid for them.
Shout out to Israel.
Maybe now that they IPO, they will change that. I hope not.
I'm removing this video from YouTube at this point.
Second thing, build a funnel according to the search volume and the conversion rate that you anticipate. This is also critical, so you can get the actual number of how much do we think this will benefit, this will contribute to our business. This is also critical. You can't really put a rule of thumb on a conversion rate. It varies from 0.1% to 10% and above. So it's really up to your use case. But this practice is really important, so you'll know what to aim for, and you'll also know to align on expectations, which is the next one. You have to set KPIs and timelines. Again, the bigger the company is, the more important this step becomes, and the more scientific you need to be about it. One thing you could do to mitigate the risk you take in such a project is, if it's possible, create some of these pages manually and see if they work. So for the GIF example, you can manually create GIF pages for some terms, see that you actually get traffic for them. If you don't, you probably won't get traffic for the full programmatic approach as well. So you can do that. Any questions here? I think this is also an important slide. Yeah.
If you do a manual test, how do you decide which pages you're going to generate first?
So it's a bit of a complicated answer. Basically, if you want, you can go for the highest volume ones, but they would also be the most competitive ones. So I would probably search for something which is a mixture, because you do want to see that you're getting traffic, but you don't want to aim to the most competitive ones, which will be more difficult.
In these tests, you usually just look for acquisition or also for conversion in these pages?
Both. I would look for everything. Statistical significance will be hard to achieve there, but you can get some sense of, is it even in the direction of working or not. Good questions. Okay, next one. Executive sponsorship. Again, this is the next one. This is where the preemptive research and KPIs that we've done pays off. This is a big bet. You're gonna see the team that I suggest building around this. It's composed of 5 roles. I really highly suggest getting executive sponsorship for such a project. Otherwise, you're going to be nagged a lot. You need to lock the time. People need to understand this is something that takes a lot of resources and take time, both to build and for Google to actually pick up and climb in ranks. Next one. Okay, now to the fun part, building the team. I hope a better team than the Anchorman team. If people are familiar with the movie. I don't know. Okay, so next one. This is actually our team, the team of the advisor project, which you've seen before. I'm not going to read through each one of the roles. I hope you also get the slides after the. Okay, let's hope so. And basically, you can also play in a few roles. If people here are developers, they can take also the developer niche. People from the marketing world can also can do the SEO stuff. I highly suggest no one try to do the designer work for them. That's highly not recommended. And yeah, this is it. I'm going to pause here. And any questions about the team or about the slides, happy to take. I don't know how are we taking questions from home, but maybe home is silent right now.
What's the program role?
So this is kind of the project management. There is a lot of project management because there are a few people involved. You need to set timelines, you need to communicate results, all of this stuff.
How do you maintain quality assurance? Like, how do you know that what is delivered, eventually won't harm you in the end?
I didn't
Repeat the
hear.
question just for those on. Quality assurance.
How do you know that what the problematic content is doing the job and not just, doing stuff that shouldn't do?
This is a really good question. So basically, assuming this is an organic project, you see the results in Google, and Google is fast enough to kind of do a quick, to give you this quick feedback loop that you asked for. There's also the QA side of, by the way, the question was how do we QA, how do we make sure this is a light bulb, right? So you get the feedback from Google. This person and this person and this person, all of them share responsibility to constantly check what they're doing and make sure that no horrible errors occurred. I do suggest some of the development time would go to setting a proper infrastructure, making sure that there are no downtimes, making sure the performance is good. I hope that answered your question somehow.
Superstar.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. What a great talk. That's it from our speakers and our experts. So we are going to be wrapping up the stream, but those who are here live, you are more than welcome to chit chat and have fun and mingle and talk, because that's what meetups are for. Till the next one, thank you so much for joining us on the live stream. This will be available at the same link, so check it out if you couldn't join us live. Thank you.